And you're welcome to Trader Chat. An incredible weekend of racing, football, and a hell of a lot besides. But even the defeats of Point Longsdale and Snowfall, were they good enough to make it a profitable weekend for Star Sports? We had an epic renewal of the Irish Champion Stakes, a renewal of the ledger that probably went the way punters and everyone else expected. But getting back to Leopardstown, should the favourite have been thrown out? Should Dermot Weld have won his champion stakes for the first time in the steward's room? And then there was Snowfall, and then there was everything that happened in the football world. Ronaldo coming back, scoring 2 goals, Harvey Elliott's injury, the brilliance of Liverpool, Raducanu in the tennis. We've so much to talk about, starting with you, Flynn Goward, who's still not quite a father, but the baby is on the way.
Still not yet there yet. We're 4 days overdue. The latest he can come would be the 21st of September. So that's 8 days away. So really not too long now, but hopefully for her sake, it just happens as soon as possible. Really, it's been quite hot over here. So you can imagine a heavily pregnant women in the heat hasn't been great.
No, I'd imagine though your prospects of promotion in Star Sports took a bit of a hit when you were kind of happy to offer a bit of tips on that it would go over the due date. I mean, Ben Keith would have been thinking it's the first baby, it's going to be over the due date, but you were kind of humming and hawing.
I think you'll find actually when you mentioned it last week, I said that as it's the first baby, it's never going to be over. So don't you dare try and drop me in it like that when you're putting Rick's up. So no, hopefully he comes as soon as possible. But before he comes, we've got loads to talk about. As you just said, Johnny, it was a action-packed weekend, some fantastic sports, and really good watching, especially for the neutral. But the one place we want to start is racing, isn't it?
It is. Hurricane Lane got the job done. So the Hurricane Lane, St. Mark's Basilica double would have come off, but over the weekend there were some fingers burnt in some of the big races.
There certainly was. I mean, results were going fantastically well for us, especially early into the Doncaster card, actually. So actually, when you were looking at the cards from Thursday, Friday, some fantastic results there, and then when you get to reach for the moon as well. But let's start with Leopardstown. You touched on the Irish Champion State, so St Mark's Basilica obviously getting the job done there. Was a small loser in the book for us. We didn't name a huge amount, to be honest with you, but was the only loser, but just a small one. Nothing major there. He's now 13-8 for the Champion Stakes at Ascot next month. Really enthralling race to watch. I want to get your thoughts on two things, Johnny. Should he have been thrown out? And what's your views on the camera angle at Leopardstown at the moment? There's a lot of talk about that.
Yeah, well, the camera angle, I suppose, give you no indication whatsoever. What are we talking about? 8 to 10 lanes here, if you want to call them lanes, that he would have veered across. I was at Leopardstown when Frankie won the race on Golden Horn.
Golden Horn, and he swerved across.
And I remember in the inquiry afterwards, I think he was 2 to 7, and I hadn't had a winner all day, and I was like, I'm just battering this because under the rules, there's no way this horse can. There's absolutely no way, bar it being dangerous riding, that Frankie can get thrown out here. And I think Richie Forrestal wrote quite well about it in the Racing Post. Ryan Moore didn't really take corrective measure on the horse because he knew it probably wouldn't matter. And the 3 parts for length, winning distance will put you into a situation where you'll probably hold on to the race. So we either change the rules or St. Mark's Basilica wins that race, because I think in a race of that nature, to throw out the winner who won by 3 parts of a length, despite how errant he was, isn't going to happen under our rules. Now, our rules are probably wrong, but they are the rules that we have.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, when they crossed the line, I thought that there was no way he was going to be thrown out. I know he's come all the way across, but because he's won that 3 1/4 lengths, I mean, you just don't see those really turned around unless it's a major interference, where they've almost knocked the jockey off or something.
Yeah.
But when it's just that interference and they're winning 3 1/4 lengths, it's never going to be turned around. You'd think it's when you get to the stages of a neck or less, then you're thinking there could be a potential. But because he's won by that amount of distance, I didn't think it was ever going to be turned around. In terms of the camera angles, from a neutral, if I wasn't a punter, I really like them. I really like that coming around the sides, like when you had when Best Mate won his 3rd Gold Cup. You saw him come alongside out of the second half and take the lead. I think that's one of the best camera angles in jumps race, actually, that Cheltenham camera angle. But I can understand from a reading the pace point of view and they're reading the race as a punter, you probably want to see a different camera angle. So there's just 2 different sides there. As an actual neutral watching it, I actually quite like it, but I can understand from a betting point of view that you probably wouldn't. I think we probably have to think as general betting people that the broadcasters will probably be tailoring towards the actual neutrals watching it on the TV anyway, rather than the people punting on it. So
we don't talk that much about the split screens that they have in American racing. Like for me, if you have a horse race, an awful lot of the screen is taken up by very, very little, right? So it might be a wall, as is the case in Tremor or whatever, or it might be some nice scenery, or it might be a bit of foliage or whatever you want to say. But like, you could easily have two different camera angles operating in unison. Like, nearly everyone has a big screen TV now. And if you get a head on, you have a far better, and we can obviously augment this with drone footage, augmented with close-ups, with wider shots as they would have done in the States. For me, we don't look at all enough into televisual aspect of racing coverage, but I guess that's for another day.
Yeah, of course. I wouldn't say that we're experts on kind of camera work or anything like that, but we can just comment on the actual views that we see. And I don't really mind it, to be honest. I think all the noise on kind of social media is a bit is a little bit over the top. But that was the Leopardstown race and the feature from Leopardstown. I guess while we're in Ireland, we might as well stay there, Johnny. But let's move over to the Curragh. Typically, we would stand at the Curragh, and we still do have a pitch of the Curragh, which didn't go during the reduced crowds, but we will be back there next year in pick 1 or pick 2, whichever way you look at it. So we will be back at the Curragh next year. Native Trail is the one I want to talk about here, Johnny. I'm so excited about this horse. I'm not a flat racing maltster. I much prefer the jumps, but this horse did get me pretty excited on Sunday. It was uber impressive beating Point Lonsdale. Who was actually a huge loser for us with a 300 grand at 4-6.
Oh, wow.
So fantastic result getting him beat. He was the more exposed. He had the more runs, and Native Trail still looks like a big baby, doesn't he? He's still growing up. I think he'll just improve for time. He's now 7-2 favourite for the 2,000 guineas from 14-1. So a big move for the 2,000 guineas next year. And I thought he was hugely impressive. Did you think the same?
Well, how could you not? He absolutely destroyed a horse who looked to be, a bit of a monster. I got the impression from Seamie Heffernan last week that he felt there were better 2-year-olds to come, that just probably late developers in Ballydoyle, which tempered my enthusiasm a small bit for him, in the sense that you've obviously an English challenger coming over who's unbeaten, arguably didn't have the same level of form. But Godolphin have now won 3 of the last 4 renewals of this race, Cuerto, Pinatubo, and Aidan O'Brien hasn't won it in the last 5, which is remarkable. And his Stallion Oasis Dream has probably been slightly in the doldrums in recent years. He hasn't produced anything amazing, but I tipped up due to Sessa, because Dermot Weld had spoken so highly of him after he's won his maiden, said he's a Guineas horse. He was obviously running that Galway maiden. He was very disappointing, but other than that, I have no real reason to suspect that the form is kind of dubious. And at the moment, Aidan O'Brien doesn't have a 2-year-old really. After this, he doesn't have an outstanding 2-year-old.
Do you think that Aidan, with his 2-year-olds, when he thinks he's got one that's forward and he thinks he's got one that's clearly talented but won't be top draw, because we've seen Point Lonsdale come out in quite a few races now, do you think he just tries to get those wins into him before the horses will progress past a little bit later on? Or do you think that he just thought he was one of the best of his crop and he just wanted to get him out?
That's actually a hard one to answer, because physically, apparently, this horse is really only a shell of a horse. But as you say, he has been kept busy. I mean, he's running he's running in some fairly kind of winnable graded races as well along the way, obviously between Royal Ascot and here. And he's probably been campaigned more aggressively than, we'll say, a Galileo horse. But like Galileo didn't have a single runner in the 2-year-old races at the Curragh yesterday. So that's kind of an indication of where Aidan, I mean, I don't know if you read in the racing post during the week, but Wootton Bassett was sent to so many, he's sent to so many Coolmore mares, 65 of them or so by Galileo, as they try to get these more precocious 2-year-olds out. And these horses, obviously, where they're looking for a replacement for Galileo, because they haven't found the successor, but they also haven't found a very reliable stallion who can be bred with Galileo bred mares, even when Galileo was alive. Warfront was a disaster as far as I'm concerned. So the Wootton Bassett one now is the one that they're going to see how that works. But Point Lonsdale is by Australia. And in fairness to him, he's had an outstanding year, but he was made to look slow yesterday.
He certainly was. It'll be interesting to see where he goes next year. I would imagine there'll be a similar tact with him next year, where they just try him in all the kind of big events. And I would imagine he'll be one of the Aidan O'Brien horses that just comes out week after week, and we'll see quite a lot of him. I mean, from his campaigning so far, they're obviously not shy to get him back out there. So there's a couple of really exciting flat horses to look out for next year. One more race from the Curragh that I wanted to talk about was Love being narrowly beat in the 220 Group 2. We led 160,000 here at 6-5. So another great result for the firm here.
I could not. I know I was having a few debates. I couldn't see how you'd be confident about her. It's not that she's been beaten twice since Royal Ascot. It's the way she's carried herself in races. She hasn't looked comfortable. To me, obviously, I mean, you're splitting hairs here. It was such a close call, but somebody was confident.
Yeah, I'm not sure whether it's the confidence in her or whether it was just the lack of confidence in the opposition. Because you had, just off the top of my head here, I'm just going to get a result here, but I'm sure you had a couple of horses who were stepping up, weren't they? And she obviously had the proven form in the book.
She did.
Just looking at the Paddy Toomey horse that actually went on to win the race. The race before was a Group 3, so stepping up in class. I know it was only to a Group 2, but you're stepping up against a proper Group 1 horse like Love. I know she's not been in the form that she has been. And then obviously Thunder and Knights that came third. Again, was one that had been placed in these really, really good races, but again was kind of stepping up in class here, coming back from being beat in a Group 1 over in France, but again not really doing it quite at that level. So both trying to find their feet. Stayed on really, really well, La Petite Coco, but we were very happy to see that because Love was would have been a shocking result for us. So it was fantastic to get Love beat. She's just not been the same horse this year, has she? She's not been the same horse.
No, but whatever about her defeat, Snowfall. I mean, this is the sort of thing that just makes you wonder because this was essentially inexplicable. I have no explanation for this, huh?
Has to be something to miss, surely.
Something to miss, yeah. It's just one of those days. What she beat Elijah Khan by half a length. That's just absolutely bonkers. But you know, they're not machines. These things happen. It was a 7-runner race, so I don't know if you had laid an each way angle, but did anyone actually bet her into kind of multiples or whatever?
We didn't see a huge amount of action for her, really. I mean, when they get to 5 on, they do just get a bit short. And like you say, there was no bad each way angle. It would have been a lovely each way race to play in as a punter if you did get the dead 8 there, but you didn't. I'm sure we would have seen a lot of money for kind of 10 and 11 pokes if there were the dead 8, but there was obviously only the 7 that ran. She is now 5-1 from 9-4 for the Prix de l'Arc de Triomphe after getting beat at the weekend. Your new favourite there is Tanawa, who's obviously a really interesting one, who's shortened for coming second to St Mark's Basilica. Like I say, she was beat at the weekend in the Irish Championship Stakes, but ran really credibly. And Hurricane Lane is actually 9-2 from 7-1 after winning the St Ledger, and that probably leads us really nicely into the Doncaster card, Johnny.
It does indeed, yeah. And you know, favourite backers, less to kind of worry about here in the big race. The Mediterranean's one didn't overly surprise me. It wasn't good enough to be the winner, but this is just it's proper kind of I suppose corroborating what we saw in the Derby in terms of in the Irish Derby. Proper horse to winner.
It certainly was, in the front 2 in the market were the 2 that filled the front 2 places. Terrible result for the firm. Laid £250,000 at 4-5 on Hurricane Lane. The SP was 8-11, so we got beat in the result and we got beat on the price, unfortunately. Not a lovely bet to lay when you're laying one that shortens on the show.
No moment of real concern for that backer.
There certainly was. There was plenty of moments of concern for us, though. I mean, pretty much the whole race is just came there swinging off the bit, coming to the 2 furlong pole and just went clear. Lovely turn of foot. Did hit a bit of a spot within the last furlong where he just kind of flattened out a little bit. It may have been the distance, but still the race had been put to bed by then. I would say that the opposition wasn't amazing. I know he's gone and won the race pretty comfortably by 2 3/4, but beating Mojo starting to second. Hopefully he does go to the Arc de Triomphe. And we'll see what he can do there. Although it does show like a real stayer, although he's got that form from the Derby. So it'd be really interesting to see him go over there. Like I just said, 9-2 for the Prix de l'Arc de Triomphe. We've got that priced on site. So do take a look at that. Just a couple more races from Doncaster quickly from the Saturday. Hurricane Ivor won the Portland Handicap. That was a great result for the punters, being the 11-2 favourite that won there. That shortened up towards the off. It was favourite in the morning, went out to about 6-1, 13-2, and then came back into 11-2. And went off favourite, and then Reach for the Moon was a well bet favourite at 4-7. That he was beaten to second by a head by Bayside Boy. That was another good result for us. So the real bad result of the weekend was the Ledger. To be fair, the rest was absolutely fine. In that race where Reach for the Moon was beat, it was beat by less than a neck. So our pips offer kicked in. So punters got their money back as a free bet up to 25 quid, as the second horse was beaten by a neck or less. So if you did bet Reach for the Moon at 4-7 at the short odds, then you got your stake back up to 25 quid. So not all not all bad news for you there if you did bet Richard the Moon. But the racing was jam-packed to the weekend. But I guess it's time to move on to some football now, because the Premier League was also pretty packed, Johnny.
It was, yeah, and I hope you enjoyed our recap there of the race. And sometimes you think it's a good result for the punters, and sometimes you think bookmakers got a battering. But I often find with Star Sports that it can be a little bit kind of random in terms of what horse are actually backed or not. And sometimes a 1-5 result, as people will tell you at the track, people don't really bet 1-5. And Snowfall getting beaten, you might get a few multiples here or there, but it's more so the even money shots at the very popular horses that can make a firm money. But what about the football at the weekend? Watched the Liverpool game yesterday. I mean, there was a lot to talk about there. Nothing to do with punting. Harvey Elliott, the decision not to show the tackle again, I thought was questionable. The decision to send him off, I thought was questionable. But then I only had a bad view of it on some sort of a Twitter screen grab type on the injury. But massive sympathy for Harvey Elliott. I hope he comes back. Liverpool absolutely hammered Leeds. So Leeds having a poor start to the season. Liverpool, to me, they look at the moment like they're bang there for this title challenge. But having said that, Chelsea were impressive as well. And obviously Man United, the big man was back in town.
He certainly was.
And Arsenal won. How did I not even mention that?
I know it was only 1-0 against Norwich, so I'm not going to get carried away. I mean, when Mikel Arteta's coming out and saying it was his best week in football, you're thinking, oh my God, we're about to beat Norwich 1-0. We're hoping it will get a little bit better from there. But like I say, some fantastic results in the Premier League this weekend.
5-2 Ronaldo to be top scorer now, joint favourite with Lukaku.
Yeah, 5-2 from 5-1. So we stuck him in at 11-2, Ronaldo, and he's was clipped into 5-1 and now 5-2, joint favourite with Lukaku. Harry Kane is out to 9-1 from 6-1 after a goalless 90 minutes from him. I heard he was pretty poor at the weekend. I think Spurs were pretty poor on the whole, but it was all about Ronaldo, really, wasn't it? 5-2 from 5-1 for top goal scorer.
Overreaction, surely though. Like playing Newcastle, like Salah 5-1. I know which one of them I'd be backing.
Yeah, but that's your heart speaking, isn't it, Johnny?
It's not my heart, no, because Ronaldo, I didn't see the game, fair enough. I saw him playing against Ireland. He's not going to be able to do anything outside the box, and he's not going to be playing all the time, and he's also going to need defenses to, as much as he's an unbelievable player, he's 36, so whatever he does will be inside the box. I think he got one goal outside the box last season for Juve, and I think against better teams he's going to struggle. That's my thought anyway. He's also missed the first few games.
Yeah, potentially. I didn't think obviously he's not going to be as quick, but even for his second goal where the keeper should have saved it and he just slotted it underneath, it took him a while to get there, and he started the run really, really early. I just thought he looks a little bit slow. So we shall wait and see how Ronaldo's season unfolds. I'm sure it'll draw plenty of viewers to the Premier League and hopefully to the betting markets as well. Just talking about the top goal scorer market, we saw some money pre-season for Mason Greenwood, who's got a decent little tally so far at 80-1. He's now 33-1. And Salah and Kane would also be small losers. That's not Johnny's money, though, I will say, for Salah. Kane's
he looked amazing yesterday.
Yeah, he certainly did indeed.
And he actually looked almost less selfish than he sometimes does. But anyway.
Yeah, he does. But if you're betting time for top goal scorer, you don't want somebody selfish. I don't think
no.
It's absolutely perfect for the bet, isn't it? In terms of the outright market, Man United were into 11-2 from 13-2. To win the league. Man City are out to 5-4 from 11-10. So those are the ones that are easy in the market. And to be honest, everyone else has strengthened or just slotted in. Chelsea are unchanged at 5-2, and then Liverpool have been clipped into 5-1 from 11-2. In terms of how the book looks for the Premier League at the moment, Man United and Liverpool would be the main losers for us in the book, along with West Ham, weirdly. So the field wins for us, but those three teams are the losers for us. Norwich have shortened into 4-7 from 4-6 to go down after being beat by Arsenal. And then Palace are out to 9-4 in that market from 6-5. They were pretty short to go down, but now they're out to 9-4 after drubbing Spurs 3-0. Quite enjoyable to say for an Arsenal fan.
Yes.
And we do still have some specials markets on site. So we've got pairs to score the most goals. That's the pair of aces market, which we speak about most weeks. We've also got first 10 goals market, which is really hotting up now, where Lukaku is your favourite there.
He's got 3, and goals contributions, which are goals and assists. If you do believe that Salah has become slightly more altruistic as he gets on in years, his goals and assists, he's 7-2 favourite, and Ronnie's 13-2. I don't think Ronnie's going to be assisting much though, so you're probably as well off if you like him, back him, albeit at 5-2 in the goal scorers market. But there's some interesting markets there, and I think if you're a fan of any of those sort of 4 teams in the betting for the title race, I think you're pretty happy with yourself at the moment.
I would certainly imagine so. One just talk about in the first 10 goals market, actually. Cristiano Ronaldo, again, We put in at 10-1 for the weekend. He's now halved in price into 5-1 after scoring 2 goals. Like I said, Lukaku's favourite at 4-1. Salah's in there at 9-2. Ronaldo's in there at 5-1. Bruno Fernandes is 11-2, and then we're 8-bar. That is Dominic Calvert-Lewin, who could be a bit of value there at 8-1, and they've got a game in hand because they play tonight. So, and he's on 3 goals. I think that fixture is all right, actually, Everton as well. So 8-1 Dominic Calvert-Lewin to get to 10 first might not be the worst bet in the world, but plenty of markets to be getting involved in the Premier League, and it's great to have it back after the international break, isn't it?
It is indeed. Harry Kane hasn't scored yet. If you think he's going to explode into life, 16-1. So if Big Harry got a hat trick in one of Spurs' upcoming games, you definitely have a chance there. Although it's fairly alarming that they're losing 3-0 to Palace in any event. Raducanu. I do remember us talking about this. I actually forget what price he was, but you did lay a bit of money at the start of the US Open, and well, he's copped a lot.
Yeah, well, it was actually I mentioned it last week's Trader Chat about Sports Personality of the Year, because I spoke that she was into 20-1 from 66, and she was previously 100. So she was into that 20-1 for Sports Personality of the Year. She's 12 on now. 12-1.
Oh my God!
Personality. So she's really shortened up in that market. Tom Daley is out to 8-1 from 5-2. That's priced up on site. Will obviously be happening in December. But talking about the tennis from the weekend, absolutely fantastic to watch. Was just amazing. I mean, she was still odds against in the semi-final. She was odds against in the quarters. She went off about just bigger than 2-1, maybe around the 8-15 mark for the final. What a fantastic game to watch. She speaks so well. She comes across really well. She's really patriotic, which is really great to see. She was 40-1 to win Wimbledon women's less than a week ago. She's now 8-1 to win on home turf next year. She moved for all of the Grand Slams, and you think that with that final, you'll probably see a bit of a changing of the guard in women's tennis, which is fantastic to see. I'm assuming you watched it the weekend, Johnny, did you?
The tennis? I did not, but I do find Raducanu fascinating, because when I first saw her, I was like, what's her kind of her parents' heritage? Because like, I think it's a Romanian name, so I only figured out that
Romanian.
You're Romanian, and I think one of her parents is from China, and she was actually born in Canada. So it's, I mean, are you Brits even entitled to claim her as one of your own? Of course, I think she has been playing tennis. She was 5 or something. Yeah, maybe she did. Yeah, but she's going to be a pin up for tennis. I think. To be fair, she's just amazing for what she's done at her age.
And she speaks so well. I saw a video of her earlier, actually, where she was just doing an interview completely in Mandarin. So she obviously speaks Chinese. She moved over here when she was 2, I think. And then she's claimed us. If you go to her Instagram page, the first picture she puts up is her holding a GB flag. So she's obviously very patriotic, which is really good to see. Speaks so well, and she's just unbelievable on the court. So I think that over the coming years, she will be one of the kind of poster girls and poster sports people for.
I agree.
For the UK, which is really good to see. So do have a look at all of our tennis markets on site, because she will be pretty short in them. But if you want to get some 8-1 for Wimbledon next year, then do snap it up, because you'd think that if she performs well in the next tournament, then she'll be going off shorter. And it wouldn't surprise me if she goes off jolly next year, Johnny.
Oh, that's a big shout, because Osaka, who obviously shares a lot in common with her, and that they've kind of had their jitters on the course. Maybe Osaka's is more of a mental health thing, in the sense that Raducanu, Wimbledon might have been more inexperienced, but they've also very, very mixed heritages, which is quite interesting. And I think they're going to bring maybe female tennis to a new level. And obviously you have Barty as well, so lots to consider there. The NFL is back, though.
It certainly is. Look, I'm not going to proclaim to be a massive NFL fan, but I will try and talk about it each week. I will speak to the NFL boys and find out what's going on, because I will be honest, I don't stay up and watch it, but we want to give you the wide plethora of sports that we obviously offer here at Star. I do just want to quickly talk about an offer which we have on the US Sports. I've got it up here. It's called Time and a Half. So if your selection is beaten in overtime or an extra innings, we'll refund 50% of your win stake as a free bet. Applies to the NFL, NBA, MLB, and NHL, abbreviations galore. So in the NFL this week, it was week 1. Tampa Bay Buccaneers into second favourite position, into 5-1 from 11-2, so only narrowly clipped in after just beating the Dallas Cowboys. And the LA Rams are probably the biggest movers, into 11-1 from 4 teams after an emphatic victory over the Chicago Bears. So do check out that offer, and do keep an eye on the NFL. A couple of our traders, Ed and Ben, are kind of huge NFL fans, and
they are indeed.
We've had such good covering of specials, and we'll have the player specials back up after the Monday game. We'll have all the outrights back up after the Sunday games. So do just have a look at that. But the offering on our NFL on the website this year has been absolutely fantastic. So do just keep an eye on that. But onto a sport that I actually am a big fan of, Ryder Cup, Johnny.
When is this on, or what do we have to talk about golf?
It's on in 10 days' time.
Right.
So the Ryder Cup, we've actually laid a huge bet of £150,000 on the USA at 8-15. Hence why we are now 1-2 USA.
Wow.
Europe out to 2-1 from 19-10, and the tie is unchanged at 12-1. So very decent bet laid on the USA. So there'll be a bit of investment for you to watch there, Johnny, and hopefully you can cheer that one to get beat for us.
Yeah, I'd probably need, and you should never bet. And I warn you, you should never bet just for an interest. But in the Ryder Cup, that would be me. To be fair, Leona Maguire has done amazing work in Solheim Cup, and there is a lot of golf interest in Ireland in both the men's and women at the moment. And I've no doubt my WhatsApp groups will be full of people betting on the Ryder Cup. But anyway,
it's a fantastic betting heat. If you go onto our website now or onto the app, we've got a correct score priced up. We've got the top US point scorer. We've got the top European point scorer, where John Rahm's your 7-2 favourite there. I wouldn't mind playing Rory McIlroy at around the 9-2 mark. You've got to think that he's going to play 5 matches along with John Rahm. I think those will be the two that played 5 matches. I think Victor Hovland could potentially play 5, but I think those two will definitely play 5. I wouldn't put anyone off playing Justin Thomas in the US point scorer either, purely because he'll play 5. I think he'll be teamed with Jordan Spieth like he was the last time out, and he normally is. So you think that they'll both play 5. JT's been on fantastic form. He's performed well here before when they played here in 2015 at Whistling Straits. He scored the most points for the US in the last Ryder Cup at Le Golf National. So I wouldn't be put off him at all. And he's also 10-1 to be top combined point scorer. He's joint second favourite with Jordan Spieth, but he's just in much better nick than Jordan Spieth at the moment.
What's happened to Spieth actually?
He's still in decent nick. He came second in the Open very recently, and then since then he's kind of gone off the boil again a little bit. But if he's playing in a foursome or with JT, then you trust them to get the job done. The kind of two pairs that took the limelight at the last Ryder Cup, which you might remember, was Tommy Fleetwood and Francesco Molinari. Molinari was the top combined point scorer, and then it was JT and Jordan Spieth who were taking the limelight over for the US team. But JT actually was the top US point scorer. So I wouldn't put anyone off that. We've got top European David Tom point scorer, and then the same for the US and the same combined, and same for the wildcard point scorers as well. So huge amount of markets which are on site, and there'll be loads more as we come up. We've got loads of specials and plenty of day one markets too. So do take a look at them, and we'll have more and more as we get closer to the Ryder Cup. But that'll be a fantastic bet heat, and hopefully a fantastic watch for us Europeans in 10 days' time. Any
punting on the name of the baby?
It's most likely going to be Arthur, so it will be a non-event, I would imagine, because I think
no offers.
No offers, nothing done.
What's Arthur about?
I don't know actually.
Guinness?
I'll tell you what. Me and Esme, my missus, actually, we got one of these apps which is like Tinder but for baby names. So I know, fantastic idea though, because it is one of those things where it's really hard to decide on a name because one of you won't like the other person's name. So what you do is you can swipe right and loads of names just automatically generate, and then it goes into a pool of names that you both like. And we both did it for Arthur, and we thought, oh, actually, quite like that. And then she quite liked it and was like, bingo, that'll do. So his name will be chosen through the baby name Tinder.
Well, that's just a beautiful way to end the show, I think. Arthur's Ashes, of course, an Only Fools and Horses joke that I actually can't even remember what it's about now, but it's a famous episode where they've Arthur's Ashes anyway, and they go around, they're not really sure, he's cremated, they're not really sure what to do with the ashes, but he ends up being taken up by a road sweeper, I think. But let's just hope Arthur is here this time next week.
Yeah, well, hopefully. He's only got a maximum of 8 days to go. So I would imagine by next Trader Chat, he'll probably be
long odds on. It's been great talking to you, Flynn.
Thank you very much.
Arsenal won at the weekend. Arthur's on the way, and Trader Chat will be back next week.